All right, looks like we're back to the auto shut off. Thanks, QuickTime. Um, so, as you ascend, you'll meet uh, darker demons, demons with more power, and you'll also meet greater beings of light. And they didn't come before because you didn't have the capacity to withstand, I should say, to contend with their presence, to withstand the the challenge it would be to accept the gravity of light that they bring. But now you can. And this is why Daniel entertained Gabriel, and Mary entertained Gabriel, and Elizabeth entertained Gabriel, but other people don't, right? So, because if Gabriel came to Daniel and almost killed him, what would he do to someone who was way less than Daniel? Um, so you'll get more light from them, and they'll help you withstand greater darkness. If you look in Zechariah 3, you see the story of Joshua, who was a righteous priest, and Satan was messing with him. And the verse is a little confusing, so I'll just not try to clarify it. But angelic beings came to him and rebuked Satan and took care of him. And so when you're doing your best, God sends reinforcements. Jesus said during his trial, he said, "Don't you know if I ask my Father, he'll send a legion of angels?" And um, there's a purpose in them not coming. But in your case, um, don't forget that he can, and there will be cases where he will send angels on your behalf, and they'll fight your battles because you won't have enough to do it yourself. So you better pay attention, because that's gonna happen, not just when you're on your knees asking for it, but especially when you're not. And God always offers greater blessings with opportunities for greater faith. And the more obvious it is, the less the blessings can be. That's just the way it goes. All things come through faith. So be aware, watch and pray for God to send help into your life, because he's going to. And if you miss it, it's on you. It's a thing he can do, and there aren't substitutes. That's the way. Okay. Um, all right. So, but in the moment, let me tell you how you can hurt these beings. We talked about, we were getting into human attacks, and then we did talk about possession kind of attacks. I think it's easier just to say internal versus external, right? Um, so this is how you fight off internal attacks. Macro, you live your life the way you should. Micro, in the moment, when they come at you, there's a scene in a movie called The Untouchables, which you're probably way too righteous to have seen. But there's this guy, Sean Connery. He's like a real knuckle bruiser kind of guy, and they're fighting the mob. And it's a famous scene where he talks about escalating the attack. If they do this, we're going to do that, and if they do that, we're going to do this. And again, truth in strange places. When the devil comes after you, God gives you power to make it hurt. You make that demon regret it, not because you're hot stuff, but because you serve God, and God has overcome all things. And he gives you the power to do what I'm telling you and how I'm telling you. So do it. Make them regret it. Now, how do you do that in the micro? When they come after you and you feel a spirit of heaviness, or you have you experience thoughts that are suggesting you to do things that aren't who you are, or you experience impulses to not do good things that you would otherwise do. You just want to take it easy. You want to do this. You want to do that. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. I'm going to tell you how you fight back. You get up. You think of the greatest good you can do right now, and you go and you do that thing. And then as soon as you're done, you think, what is the greatest good I can do right now? And you go and you do that thing. People are overcome because their first reaction is to drop to their knees and beg for God to take this away. Stop asking for God to take away the very path he's given you to greater things. Don't ask him to hurt you. It's contrary to his nature to deprive his children of the good that he has to give. Ask him how you can use it for your good. And I'm telling you, do good. Think, use your brain, ignore your feelings for a minute and how you feel. Don't think about feeling good. Think about doing good. And I don't care if like you're so overcome that you barely have strength to stand, or even if you're crawling on the ground. I don't care. You do the best good that you can think of that is right in front of you. If you just have to straighten a mess that's literally right in front of you, do it. And the second you do this, the light comes, and then it comes stronger, and then it comes stronger. And what happens is as the influence of that demon wanes on you and the influence of God increases, you're even going to forget what was going on. You're going to get lost in the good that you're doing. And let's say that doesn't happen in the moment or after a day or after a week. Don't stop. Just keep doing the best you can imagine. And eventually, what's going to happen is the clouds will dissipate and that internal temptation, it goes away. Now, long term, the way they lose the ability to get you internally is through God telling you, teaching you hard things. He reveals the truth to you. And that typically doesn't happen in a moment. And there are a whole lot of restrictions that we place on God in his attempts to try to get us this, right? But it's one of the critical things we're here to gain. So truth is successive. It usually takes time to lay out. Sometimes it takes experience. A lot of times it takes sorrow and pain to learn to lose the value of that's false, that you hold on things, and to gain the value that's true, or gain the correct magnitude of value. Get things in their right priority place in your life. It takes time, and it usually involves hard truths that you probably aren't ready to hear just yet. So in the macro, you exercise your faith, and then you make a place to have greater trust in God and to have less fear in life. And the more you overcome, it's like a snowball where you're just capable of more and more and more and more. And that's the pathway to him giving you what he can't just magically tell you directly right this second. Okay? All right, so that's the internal. What about the external? Sorry, I was just thinking about whether I want to talk about justice. I'm going to skip that. Okay, what about the external? So here we have people who almost never realize they're stooges of Satan. And we have you who sees what's going on and knows what's going on because I've told you, and now you're informed and you're empowered. And how do you, the seat of decision in this person is in the person. But the voice telling them what to do, what they do, that's a demon. And it could be very, very deep inside them, like a lifetime of false ideas or behaviors or patterns. How do you fight that? The way you fight this is you overcome evil with good. You can't adequately answer that question without delving completely into how to teach the gospel, which isn't really about the gospel at all, but how to teach. How do you persuade people? And so I guess what I want to say is the deep end of this is really, 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 really deep. And it's reason, it's persuasion, it's intelligence, it's wisdom, it's all these things. So I'm going to stay in the shallow end. And the good news is you're probably not here anyway. I'm not saying you're not intelligent or wise or whatever, but this is all successive. And you got to go through the shallows before you go deeper. You can't just dive in because you'd be overcome. So let's just stick to the shallows. And the shallows is you love them. You love them. You love them with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. So when they punch you, you say, God, please forgive them. There's no way they understand what they're doing. And you turn the other cheek. And when they hit you again, you turn back. Say like, no, you haven't got me on my back yet. And when this keeps going for long enough and you're laying on the ground, one of two things is going to happen. Their heart will be overcome by the clarity and intensity of the signal of God's love that you're showing them through your suffering and their benefit. Or God will remove them, or God will remove you. And if you quit before that happens, you can't do so without turning away a tremendous gift that God has given you in great love. I wish I could say that when you get through something like this, and the more you do this, you accumulate treasures in heaven that you